Hello and welcome. In this video I want to talk about empaths and the emotional abuser. The attraction, why empaths are targeted, and at the end I'm going to give you some ideas and ways to help you recover from the abuse and to regain your power. Hello and welcome, my name is Elizabeth Goddard from Revive Your Soul. On this channel I talk about healing from emotional abuse, untangling from the invisible chains that tie you to that relationship. If you're new to this channel, please like and subscribe, and I thank everybody who's been subscribing over the last few weeks. It's amazing. Thank you so much. And if you're returning, welcome back and thank you. An empath is a person that feels what other people are experiencing. They don't tap in to somebody else's emotions, they just feel it. They are highly intuitive people with an understanding and a monitor for bullshit. They are quite likely to suffer from overwhelm, and they recharge in nature, whether that's walking in nature, hugging trees, or being by water. They don't cope well with crowds. They're deeply caring and sensitive people. They are great at problem solving, and they have an ability to see patterns that other people don't see. They might have a need to isolate themselves away from people to recharge. They have boundary issues, and they might find it difficult to fit in to society. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to talk about the narcissist. And if you've been watching lots of videos on various different channels, you might be aware of that personality type, which is that grandiose, needing attention, that self-centeredness, and that arrogant thinking and behaving. They actually lack empathy and have no consideration for other people. They have a tendency to be manipulating, demanding, selfish and patronising. And this behaviour runs through every area of their lives. And then there's the covert narcissist, who isn't as grandiose, but still has that sense of self-importance. They're highly sensitive to criticism. These are the ones that hold a grudge and punish people who they believe have wronged them. They need other people to build up their self-esteem. They're the ones that might sabotage other people's work or tease people claiming it was only a joke. Or they're the ones that procrastinate in jobs because they think it's beneath them. And it's because of this emptiness inside that the emotional abuser or the narcissist is attracted to the empath. If it isn't tied down, they believe it's theirs. And that includes people. The empath is highly sensitive. They pick up on other people's energies as if they were their own. They might experience their emotional pain or even their physical pain. And the only way I can describe this is if your energy is really low and you go into a room, a vibrant room, and people lift you and you take on their energy and you get carried up, your vibration gets carried up and it energizes you. Or in reverse, that you're feeling very energized and in a really good mood, and you walk into a room and everybody is feeling really low and depressed, and your energy matches and goes down to theirs. This is what an empath feels like. Every moment of the day, they are able to pick up on other people. They can walk into a room and they could understand exactly what's going on, understand what's being said, what's not being said, understand the vibration, understand exactly what's happening within that room, the dynamics that are going on, and they'll do that very, very quickly. It's very difficult for an empath because they don't see themselves as any different from anybody else. In their eyes, everybody experiences this. They don't see this as something unique. They were born with this knowing, understanding what's going on for people without having to ask any questions. Now, they're not thought readers, they can't read somebody's mind, but they have this inner knowing of dynamics within relationships. And perhaps because of this, they are born, or they want to, or believe they are here to serve others. By nature, the empath is a very forgiving person. They had this deep understanding and knowledge of why somebody behaves in the way they behave. It's like they can see their wounds. They can see the damaged inner child. They understand why somebody's behaving and they forgive them for it. And perhaps this is the reason they stay in toxic relationships far longer than anybody else would. They see the damaged inner child and they want to help fix it. They feel the pain, the emptiness, and they want to heal. They want to help. And they want to believe that the abuser is truly sorry for everything they've done and that they want to make amends. And they also trust on a level that not many other people would. The empath enjoys deeper conversations with smaller groups. They get bored easily with the small talk. They need to isolate themselves, to take themselves away, whether that's just laying on the sofa for a few hours or walking in nature. They need to replenish their energy, and empaths are usually quite ungrounded. They might have felt for most of their life that they don't fit in, or they don't understand their role. So when an emotional abuser or a narcissist walks into their life, they're like a project. The empath is like a project. They understand, listen and question, and then they put on a mask, and then they play the role that the empath is easily drawn to. When they get overwhelmed, when they've been with too many people, or there's too much going on and they haven't grounded themselves, they might suffer with things like chronic fatigue or spiritual flu. They need to take themselves out in nature, replenish their energy, take themselves away from people. Empaths enjoy their own company. They're more than happy to be on their own. And it's not a selfish thing, it's a preservation. It's in the empath's nature to nurture people, to absorb their energies, to help heal, to want to take away a person's problem, to want to make people feel better. They hate seeing people suffer. They hate seeing anything suffer. They're sensitive to news articles, whether it be in the paper or on the television. They're the ones that cry over films at the slightest thing that nobody understands why. They won't be able to watch violent films. The empath has an ability to see patterns. It might be that something someone says that triggers a memory, or it might just be that a series of events that carry through, they can see a pattern in behaviour. They have an inner knowing and they're able to tune out what is being said and understand what isn't being said. The emotional abuser undermines the empath. They tell them that they're too sensitive, or they were only kidding. They cannot risk being found out. They cannot risk being unmasked. They're relying on the emotional abuser and their forgiving nature and their understanding and their wanting to heal, to keep that relationship going so they can tap into their energy, fill up what it is that they think they're missing and that the empath can give them. They can't risk losing that connection from the empath, and they can't risk being abandoned by them. They like it because they can be more honest and open, because they know that empath is going to be forgiving. But what the emotional abuser is going to do is exploit them. They're going to break every boundary that the empath has purposely put in place. Empath understands the pain the emotional abuser is in and wants to help them. And because of that, they're willing to overlook their behaviour. And because of their nature, the empath is actually probably more susceptible to cognitive dissonance, gaslighting, wanting to believe the abuser really wants to heal. They want forgiveness. They really want to change their behaviour this time. And they give them too many chances before they're either discarded or the empath finally walks away. The empath knows what it's like not to fit in, and they're always going to fight for the underdog. The empath might feel unassertive, and this might be part of their journey to embrace this. And it might be that they need to find their voice. They can stand up for other people, but they don't stand up for themselves. They might find the world overwhelming. They might believe they need to hold back to conform. So when opposites attract and the empath and the emotional abuser or the narcissist come together, it's two worlds colliding. The narcissist or the emotional abuser is playing a role, pretending to be someone they're not. They're pretending to be the person the empath is looking for. And on some level, the empath is picking up on these wounds, the woundedness of the narcissist, of the emotional abuser, and goes into wanting to help. And as I said, the empath has this role to be of service, and they have this very forgiving nature, which is perfect for the abuser, who is able to manipulate so easily the empath to eventually sucking the life out of them before they move on to their next victim. Now we're all on the narcissistic spectrum, all of us, whether we're nearer to 0 than we are 100. We all have personality traits, but the emotional abuser, the narcissist, the sociopath, the psychopath are going to be higher up. Now, whether they're in a place that they fully understand what they're doing, or they just know that the manipulative behaviour they use gets them what they want, or whether they're full on and they're right up at 90, 85, and they completely understand what they're doing. They plot and they plan exactly what they want and need from every single person before they discard them and move on. If you've been attacked by an emotional abuser, a narcissist, a psychopath, a sociopath, you're going to need to do a lot of healing on lots of different levels. Addressing childhood wounds, understanding who you are, understanding why you're attracted to these people and why these people are attracted to you. Perhaps you've never fitted in. Perhaps you've never found a role or felt you fitted in society. Understanding what your gifts are and how you can utilise those. Understanding where your self-worth comes from, where your self-esteem comes from. What patterns can you see in your life? Now, self-care is crucial. And grounding is one of the things you need to do on a daily basis, if not many times a day. And it's particularly helpful if you get in that spiral of emotional negative thought patterns and words that keep going round and round, believing this is all your fault. By grounding yourself and taking yourself out of your head and into your body and understanding the role you played and what this was for. Maybe looking and seeing whether you've got any codependency patterns playing out in your life. What about addictions? We tend to think of addictions as drugs and alcohol, but what about food and work, or even the certain personality types in your friendship groups? These addictions are masks what's really going on. If you're an empath, you've got a bullshit monitor. Whether it's something in your body or something in a voice in your head that says that's rubbish, you know what's right and what's wrong. You might have been told you were too sensitive or you had trust issues. You weren't and you didn't. This was a way of getting you to turn your intuition off, believe this is all your fault, when it was actually them that were treating you badly and behaving in a way that you didn't agree with and you didn't like. They used coercive behaviour to manipulate you, and they trauma bonded you, and you were left believing that you couldn't live without them. So what do you need to do? You need to take time out for yourself, and this is the really hard bit actually, because you spent so long tending to their needs and forgetting about who you were and what you wanted, what you liked. It now feels alien. It feels you might even feel guilty taking time out for yourself, believing you're not worthy, with your self-esteem on the floor. As an empath, you might see patterns. You might find it really helpful to get a piece of paper and a pen and look at all the people that have been in your life and that are in your life. I found this really, really helpful. Have a look at friends and family, not just romantic relationships. Can you see the certain types of relationships that you attract? Remember, you can't fix anybody but yourself. You might want to take a step out of your relationships and assess them as if you were looking in on behalf of somebody else. And you might want to ask yourself, how is this helping me? Is this relationship balanced? Is it a give and take relationship? You might find that a friend appears or only appears when they need help, and then disappears when you do? Do you attract vultures? A vulture is a person that feeds off you in a different way. They act as if they're trying to help you. They're using the attention that they're getting from being so helpful, but it's actually for their own gain. And as soon as you start to heal and regain energy and want to move on, they want to keep you in that place because it doesn't serve them for you to be whole. They actually want you to stay trapped. Do you have people in your life who are told you so, or people who wait for the opportunity to put you down rather than raise you up? Empaths are amazing people. Find your talents and don't hide them. Empaths are needed to step forward as themselves, not to hide away. Now, I hope you found that useful. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe and like. If there's anyone that you know would benefit from seeing it, please don't forget to share it. I work with people on a one-to-one basis. If you'd like to find out ways of working with me, you can go visit my website, reviveyoursoul.co.uk, or you can send me an email, info@reviveyoursoul.co.uk. I'm sending you loads and loads and loads of love.